Yes, beautiful people, welcome to a loud and messy week. It is your boy Zamboni. I am a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. It looks wild this week. The primary thing that we got going on this week is Venus retrograde, but then also so Venus is going retrograde in early Aries. We've also got Mercury moving from Pisces into Aries, and getting in there with that Venus. So let's talk about that for a little bit. So Venus retrograde Venus is the planet of largely relationships. And so that can be romantic relationships and partnered relationships, to be sure. But they're, all of everything kind of is a relationship in some kind of way, right? Like whenever we're dealing with other people at all, or pets, or what kind of relationship do you have to this or that person, place, or thing? It's all going to be relationships in some sort of way. And so actually, if you want to look at which relationships are the ones that are coming under scrutiny and focus during this Venus retrograde, then you're going to want to look at your chart and look at which house this Venus retrograde is taking place in. If you don't know how to do that, you can check out Astrology from the Ground Up. That's the course that I did in the Foundations of Astrology. It's available at zambonifunk.com. It gets stellar reviews. Everyone really seems to feel like it's approachable and relatable, that course. So go check that out. If you don't feel like going through all that bullshit and you just want me to do it for you, also available on zambonifunk.com. You can get a reading. The 10-minute reading is often the best option. It's super affordable. It's only $30. But then there's also a longer chat that we can have via Zoom. So check that out. Also, zambonifunk.com is the place for that. But so what you're going to do is you're going to look at which house this is happening in for you, and look at Venus being the planet of relationships in general, and then retrograde. So retrograde is a backward motion, right? So the Venus thing is not moving forward anymore, but rather moving backwards. And so whenever we see a retrograde, the re words tend to show up here. So we're going to be looking at review or reevaluation or revision or any of this kind of stuff. That's going to be your retrograde stuff here, right? So we're going to be reevaluating relationships during a Venus retrograde. And for Venus retrograde in Aries, that looks like a situation that it wants to be a little aggro with it, right? It wants to sort of the Venus in Aries generally is kind of enamored with combat, or excited about or pleased by competition or aggression in some kind of way, right? And so Venus retrograde in Aries is going to be pretty the Venus things tend to be sweet, but if we flip that on its head, then it's I don't feel sweet about this anymore. I feel like fucking fighting about something. I feel like pushing, and especially since Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is still there in Cancer, coming off a long retrograde. Mars is no longer retrograde, but Mars isn't really moving forward. Mars is hanging out right there at 17 degrees of Cancer. And so all week, Mars is at 17 Cancer. And so, if we're ever thinking about Mars in Cancer, then it's going to be feeling some kind of way about the sensitive space, and then getting really sort of fighty, or there is a sense of it is Cancer. If we think about Cancer, the crab, the reason why these pincers in the shell exist is because it's so soft on the inside, right? And so in the event that you feel threatened, then it's time to get sharp about it. And that's Mars in Cancer, is ready to get sharp because of the feeling of being threatened in some kind of way. Whether or not there is a real threat, the feeling is real. And so there's something that wants to fight about that. And that is kind of powering Venus retrograde in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So it looks like feeling threatened about something sensitive in the relationship space, and then having to have a fight about that. Now, the thing that's interesting here also is that Mercury has moved from Pisces into Aries. And so that means that Mercury, who is our communicator planet, that's the one that is the translator, or the one who, the microphone or the megaphone, the journalist as well, the storyteller, the one who's going to like get out here and be like, so here's what happened. Let me tell you all about it. That's Mercury, right? And so Mercury is trying to tell you all about the Aries things. The Aries things are going to be the competition or the combat or these kinds of things. And Mercury is going to want to talk loudly about that. It's interesting to see Mercury moving from Pisces into Aries, because Pisces is a water sign. It's a place where Mercury is not very good at being loud about stuff. Mercury is very subtle in Pisces. One of the things that I say about Mercury in Pisces all the time is that it's very good for metaphor and song and this kind of thing. It's kind of like approaches from this place of like subtlety and double entendre and stuff like that. Double entendre is not really the move for Aries. Aries is very straightforward. It is what it is. And so Mercury is going to be in here trying to tell you about what's going on, and the volume turns up in a really big way when to see that Pisces to Aries shift. So it looks like things want to get loud, especially when it comes to the relationships that are going on there. And so there's like a loud and competitive vibe in all kinds of different relationships that want to take place here. So, you know, as far as like diplomacy is concerned and these kinds of things, like there's not that much of that. Like a bunch of that is out the window. There's a sense of like, I feel disrespected and now we have to fucking fight about it. And so that becomes like this whole issue that is likely to play out over many weeks here, because also Mercury is getting ready to station retrograde in the same spot where Venus just station retrograde. So that's not happening this week. Mercury this week is just slowing down, not quite getting to that point. We're going to see that station in a week, 2 weeks, something like that. And so Mercury slowing down, getting close to this spot, and then treading the same ground where Venus is at. So Venus has already moved forward through the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries, right? And is now stationed retrograde, moving backwards, and is going to move back through that same area to revisit, revise all this. How are we going to do? Are these the kinds of relationships that I want to have? How could I better structure the relationships so that they move me toward my goals? Let's remember that this is in Mars's sign, and Mars just came off a retrograde as well. Throughout that whole Mars retrograde I was talking about, is this goal actually my goal, and are the methods that I'm taking to get toward my goal actually taking me toward my goal? So do I need to maybe shift the direction so that I'm headed toward a different goal, or do I need to maybe shift the way that I am stepping toward that goal, because the steps that I'm taking are not taking me toward what I'm trying to get to, right? That was all of the Mars retrograde stuff. That sort of continues, but now it's more about team. Like who am I traveling with toward my goal? Do I want to continue to travel with these folks? And like, what are we, is this relationship mutually beneficial, or are there better ways to navigate toward that, either with this person in a different way or not with this person at all, or these kinds of things? These are likely to come up in a really sort of loud kind of way, especially once we notice that Mercury is here as well, right? So there's plenty of revision that's going to be going on for the next few weeks here, and Mercury is getting ready to, like, so, you know, one of the things that I think about with Mercury retrograde a lot of times, which is coming up, is that, you know, miscommunications, delays, misunderstandings, all that sort of stuff. So now is the moment. So during the retrograde, we're going to see a review of the miscommunications. This week is the time when the miscommunications happen, right? So some stuff is going to get said. Some things are going to be out here that don't quite map on to truth or reality in some kind of way. And so there's going to have to be a moment of like, did I mean to say that? Did that person really mean that shit? Did they mean it in the way that I took it? Especially because with that Mars in Cancer there's like a strong ability to misinterpret things, especially in the most sensitive or aggressive way possible. Like it's going to be real easy to not be charitable to people when they are saying things and be like, yo, that hit me in a way that makes me want to fight. And maybe they meant it, maybe they didn't mean it. And so there's going to be plenty of working that out that's got to go on here. One thing that we can see here is that the sun in Pisces is getting close to Saturn. So it's not time to be overly prideful. It's time to slow down. And there's so much slowdown going on. Be patient, boo-boo. Appreciate you.